All right, so I am doing a couple quick critiques for Camille here on her match. She had a great match last night, so we're just going to break down some of the things that she does stage by stage and take a good look at it. So without further ado, here we go. Okay, so for contrast real quick, let me pull up my stage that I did on this. It wasn't this one. Wasn't this one. Wasn't this one. It was this one. Okay, so let's just watch through what I did here, and I'll explain some of the things. Okay, so there's a couple key points that I want to point out about this one in particular. The draw strokes and everything like that, Camille was right on the money. Just being able to shoot a little bit more aggressive comes with time. Obviously, for me, I had to bend down too. But notice I'm keeping my center of gravity leaning towards where I want to go, so it's an easier shift of dropping this foot back and then taking off where I want to go. Now, this sequence right here, I had noticed several people trying to come in and engage this target right here first. The reason that I didn't want to do that is because you think about it, your center of gravity is coming in here and then you're trying to do a hard shift and even turn further in rather than, running this way and then deciding that you're just going to take what's to your 12 o'clock, okay? It is shooting out of sequence, but Camille did the same thing, and I think this was the best way. Now, the other thing to notice is I didn't need to be up here on this bag. Notice where I'm positioning myself when I get to this position so that I'm setting myself up for a clean exit. So I shoot in, right? And I hit this position right here on the move. And I did transition and throw one like right in between or over here, so I had a little bit of trigger freeze on that position. Was easy to just turn back. Didn't cost me that much time to turn back and make that up. Now, what we want to look at here, and this is actually taken from kind of like a CQB thing, is when I'm coming straight on, all I have to do is kick this foot out here, and then this foot steps around, and I'm out, right? So I take a couple steps, and I actually moved more than I needed to there. But the wall actually stuck out a little bit. You can see I'm hugging the wall very tight. The wall was not where the fault line is. So I'm able to clear the wall and then immediately go back into where I'm headed. Gun up and ready. The next thing I want you guys to notice is I actually took all three of these open targets because for me, it's easy to go boom, 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 and come back center. And I have to do this type of transition anyway. Like, in other words, I'd have to go down, up, and over. So to me, it's pretty much the same to just go straight across and then come back up to the top level. I'm also not transitioning over the partial. When you think about it, I'm going all across the targets and then coming back over, and hopefully I won't ever have to have my dot touch the partial. So that's why I did it that way. That's not a absolutely all the time rule of thumb, but it is something to consider that does help. So let's get back to Camille's stage here and watch it one more time. Some of these things might be a little bit more obvious now. So good draw, good press, center of gravity, trying to get out of there. It's always tough to leave those positions. But that was a pretty good exit. I didn't see any have to huge suck yourself out of that position. All this extra distance, you cheated up a little bit. You actually did pretty good there, Camille. As you could have been back a little bit, but you weren't all the way forward. So that was really good. Smart stage planning. Cleared it, hugged around it, very good. Gun up. Good. So overall, nothing insane, and what you'll notice is it was literally that entire stage was all about how you entered and exited that position. All right, let's take a look. Got some of Maddie's. Let's see if I can get back to Camille's real quick. Interesting. Why did it go all the way to these? Is this on random? What? Okay, here we go. Sorry, I don't know what's going on there. All right, so I'll just let this one play through. Much better. Getting a lot better, Camille. Huge improvements on that. So stage planning is the only thing here that I will say is probably the real thing that hurts you, which is not a big deal. So let's watch my run real quick. Okay, so a couple things. Watch the way I initiate movement on this target, right? As soon as I engage this one, you're going to see this left foot lift up, right? Get my draw done. I start lifting this foot up to initiate my movement off of this target. And I'm out of that position as quick as I can be. My reload is started as soon as I'm done. Look, this is just task processing. This is something that it takes time in USPSA. As you get better at stage plans, you'll start going right to things. There is still a little bit of cognitive delay of you shooting and then going, oh yeah, I need to reload. The more you relax and you trust your subconscious to do the right stuff, you're not so worried about seeing, you know, your gun doing this and da-da-da. You just draw out, you shoot those things, and you're like, oh yeah, I got to reload, and you're on to the next thing. A lot of this has to do with just relaxing and letting the subconscious take over. So done with my reload, start engaging this guy as I control my entry in, and I'm able to have this is kind of like a bumper stop, so I can enter that a little bit harder. If this was a partial target, you'd see me slow down sooner. I would have slowed down a little bit sooner, but I could use this to bump off of. And I have to, the other thing that you notice I do with my foot here, I use my foot to kind of come in, and my foot like almost rounds it out, and I use it as a counterweight, right? So as soon as it helps me shift my weight forward, and then that foot's there, and I can just step forward to the next place that I'm going. I have to think a lot about shifting center of gravity and movement because I'm so tall, but this stuff still affects you. You just don't realize it quite as much. The other thing I want you to see is when I'm done shooting this target, and this target. So basically, once I've cleared almost this entire left side with the exception of this guy because I can't shoot him, I want you to look at where I'm at in the stage. Right when I'm done, I'm on this second yellow line, and my center of gravity is pulling me towards the next target, all right? And what we want to look at is where you're at when you finish this. So, right, we look. You do this a little bit with your foot, but see how you're letting that foot flag up? You could start shifting your center of gravity a little bit sooner. You did a pretty good job there, actually. I'll give you that. That was a better shift than I thought. All this dead time right here where you have these targets standing in front of you, I would have walked these out and engaged them. Because when you get done with these three targets, you're on this line stepping towards that one, and you had to hunt for these guys, right? So that was just a sequence thing. If you would have engaged, you know, if you would have just slowly walked, if you think about it, you really didn't need to go any further forward than this wall. You could have engaged these stalled out there, and you still would have finished closer to where you needed to be. You got drawn into that target, and then you had to slow your movement down because this wall was going to start pushing that in. So those are things to think about. It's just a stage planning thing. Your shooting was pretty much the speed at which you were splitting the gun on these far targets was very similar to what I was doing. Huge improvements, though, Camille. It's looking way better. Okay, this one we already did. Why is it skipping around like this? Okay. So let's take a look, see where this one is for me. Okay, perfect. Okay, so there is something here, again, with stage planning and shooting out a sequence, and this is something I'm starting to work on because it is not easy. But notice the sequence I shot this in. And basically what it was is from right here, one, I'm going to get that gun up, and if I can, my objective here was even while I'm on the move, if I can slow down and track that dot within the center of that alpha of that deep target, I'm going to do it because I'm shooting as soon as it's available. And then once I hit here, I don't need to spend any more time. So basically, guys, there was a target tucked right behind here. There were two targets next to each other. One that was like deep back in this corner over here, and then one that was right here. But this wall there was only a small area where you could see both the targets together, and it made you lean and push your center of gravity towards this red wall. And so what I realized is you can leave that target and get it again through this little gap right here, and if you do that, it takes the pressure off of this target to the right of the barrel, which disappears very quickly. As soon as you're here, that target's pretty much gone. So I placed priority on that. I passed by and I was able to shoot this target, and what this allowed me to do is just continue to move. Now I did throw one delta right there, just because I was pulling off the target. You can see me transitioning, right? And that's me trying to push just a little bit, right, to get done with that. And I could have just chilled out on that, but it is what it is. That's how we find pushing versus kind of, hey, whoa, we can chill on that one. And then I was able to engage this one and engage this one. So what this did, if you watch this position now, I don't have to stop moving. I'm constantly pushing towards the end of the stage. And not only that, but when I get done with the position, I get done with the position further along and with the hip orientation to take myself out of there. Okay, so when we look at that, what we can see now is as you watch, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. Watch how you have to stall out in the middle there. Good draw, good presentation, guns up, tracking. Notice how much more time you had to spend here because you waited till here to engage the deep one, and you were forced to stay right here. And not only that, but you were pretty much forced to at least index, and you couldn't move that much on this one because you could really, that was like the last place you could see it from. And then you shoot this one, you have to come here. So now you're finishing this whole thing here, and you had static, like a lot of static here. When you have static like that, it forces you to split the gun as fast as you can. And I would rather take the risk of like being moving and splitting the gun really fast because I don't think it makes that much of a difference. And then a little late to getting your gun up there. When you came around, you should have started as soon as you cleared that wall here, retract the gun, and then start pushing it out so that basically what you want to see is your dot roll across and the target appear. Hey, Groot. And then you're able to engage. Good. So yeah, just little things with that one that would have, kind of panned out. That was a tricky stage plan, though. Stand by. Good job. You're trying to keep moving and shooting. That's good. Cool. So, not bad overall. I don't have any video footage of me shooting this one, but I can tell you a couple of things that I did differently. So the first thing is when you're moving forward like that, do not be afraid to just draw. Get that gun out in front of you. You waited a long time to do the draw, and while you're waiting, it kind of slows your running down because you're like, well, I don't want my gun to fall out. So just get that thing out and start running. The sooner you establish that grip with the gun and you get it out of that holster and you're like built up and ready to go, the better. If you notice, those targets could have been engaged from back here, and that's where it makes you kind of have to stall out and shoot, and now you're back here, whereas you could have been finishing with them up here. For this one, that was a hard lean. I like that you start to move and walk. You should really reach more with those feet. So these steps, I know it's hard with an injured knee and stuff, but just keeping those feet reaching and trying to roll through these positions. Instead of your dot, like if you watch the cursor, instead of your dot kind of going like jumping to the next thing as your feet are close together and doing this, your dot's going to mimic that. If you kind of like reach and make this like arch, your dot will do this, and it's a lot easier to track what's happening. And then this one, again, if we can have the gun up and shooting, this is a close open target. You want to get that gun up, track this open so that it basically come across, boom, boom, and then you rotate back to this guy, and then you finish on this one. So basically that means that I'm shooting here, and by the time I reach there, I'm done, and I don't have to do a stand and shoot and worry about, am I splitting the gun as fast as I possibly can, all that stuff. So again, just a little stage planning thing that I think would improve that. Stand by. Okay, very good. Let me see if I can find this one.
Bye.
Here it is, perfect. Okay, so if you notice here, one thing I just want you to hear the difference. Okay, there's only one distinct pause, and that's me drawing and loading the gun. Everything else is continuous shooting. Okay, I realized when I did this stage, this position over here, because of this target, your center of gravity is going to be pulling you out in a way. There's no way to avoid that. And so that's why it's preferable to end on that, if possible. In this stage, it absolutely was possible to end on this position. And not only that, this was an easier position to shoot into, okay? So that's why I wanted to end with it. So if you look, the one target that's kind of restricting me is, I believe, this guy back here. Yeah, this target right here. I'm sorry, there's one right behind the barrel that you can't see. So that's the one target that's restricting my movement. I have to see that from here. So I deal with this one first just because it's right there. It's staring me in the face. I might as well deal with it. So I hit this one, and I figured if I stacked, like if I started with this target, I might run out of room over here to hit this target that's tucked back here. So I wanted to give myself to get that one dealt with, no problem. Engage this one behind the barrel, and then hit this one, then transition to this one. Plenty of room for this one, so I even could have been, right in here. I nailed my spot to engage this one to the right of the wall. Now you see me pick up my pace a little bit because that's a nice center open target. Now I can shoot into this target, right? My end point's right here. And now I can still end with that natural hard lean to give me the most of the A zone and get my 2 alphas right on that target. So when we contrast that, okay, this doesn't want to go in order.
Stand by.
So this position right here, right, you do a good job of engaging. I think you're splitting pretty well. You're honestly shooting at roughly the same cadence. In other words, splitting the gun the same as me. The big difference here is we can look at your center of gravity and see that this is flagged out and you're leaning hard this way, which is going to generate this really hard exit for you where you have to pull yourself out of it. And you've finished half the stage, and now there's just this massive area where you have to just sprint across. The pressure is going to be on to split the gun as fast as you possibly can and sprint as hard as you possibly can, right? Get into position, and you could shoot into that one a little bit. In other words, you could have kind of had gun up a little bit sooner and shot into that one so that, the position became this target and this target basically. There's a balance of if you can be moving and shooting, you want to try and be moving and shooting. And really where you lost the time, a little bit of the load, but really where you lost the time was just this massive dead time of standing and shooting. And for me, I will always take being able to move and get those points because it's just easier. I think I had 2 Charlies on that stage. All right, is that everything for Camille? All right, Camille, overall, really good stuff. I'm seeing huge improvements in your shooting and like what you're doing. You're trying to move more. You're trying to exit out of positions. So keep it up. You're doing the right thing. Just think through, this is what's hard about USPSA is stage planning. So keep it up. You're doing good stuff. It's just going to take a little bit for some of these principles and these things to click with you. And we want, in my opinion, as you're getting better, you should be focusing on passive things, not active things necessarily. Active is I actively have to think about splitting the gun as fast as I can. I actively have to think about running as fast as I can. If I can switch over to passive, which is kind of, hey, if I just make the course of fire as short as I possibly can by a good stage plan, I'll be able to score good points and walk kind of through the stage, and I don't have to actively hustle. It doesn't have to come down to quote-unquote athleticism. Then you couple the two and you say, you know what, I want to have that smart stage plan, but I'm also going to be athletic about it. That's going to be where you're going to see the big improvements. So overall, really good work, Camille. Keep it up.